picture this. You have just finished a 40-page report.
Yeah.
And, you have poured your absolute soul into it.
Oh, I know the exact feeling. The data is flawless. The charts are beautifully color-coded.
Right. And you have spent weeks just agonizing over every single detail. So you lean back in your chair, take a well-deserved sip of coffee, and then your manager walks over.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Yeah. And they say, great job on the research. Can you summarize it in one page? The CEO needs to read this before the board meeting in an hour.
And the panic immediately sets in. Right. 1 page for the CEO today.
Exactly. And that is exactly what we are tackling today. We're diving deep into how to write an executive summary that actually works and transforming the way you communicate with decision makers. Because this scenario, it happens every single day in the corporate world.
It really does. And I think it's important we define our core vocabulary right up front. An executive summary is basically a short document produced for business purposes. It summarizes a longer report or proposal so that senior leaders can rapidly understand the main points.
Right, but it's simultaneously the most important document in professional communication and, honestly, the least understood.
Absolutely. It's the ultimate gatekeeper to your ideas. If you get that single page wrong, those 40 pages you just spent weeks on, well, they will simply never be read by anyone who matters.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because if we want to write a truly great summary, we probably need to unlearn what a bad one looks like first. Instinct usually leads people in the wrong direction here.
Oh, completely. The fatal flaw, and it is incredibly common, is treating the executive summary like an introduction to the larger report.
Like saying, this report will discuss the recent market trends.
Exactly. Or they treat it like a table of contents written out in paragraph form. Section 1 covers revenue, Section 2 covers team structure. They essentially create a chronological tour of the document they just wrote.
I think I know exactly why we do that, though. We spent all this time building a massive logical argument in the report, so we feel obligated to walk the executive down that exact same path.
That is the curse of knowledge at work. We are conditioned from our school days to build up to our conclusions. We want to show our work, create a little suspense, and reveal the brilliant answer at the very end.
Like proving how smart we are.
Right. But an executive summary is not an introduction. It is a standalone document. It is designed specifically for busy decision makers who, frankly, might never have the time to read your full report.
So it's supposed to be short, like what, maybe 10 to 15% of the original length?
Around there, yeah. But the real core difference, the massive mindset shift you have to make is this. A regular summary tells the reader what the report says. An executive summary tells the reader what to do with it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so if we look at it through the lens of entertainment, people are treating this document like a movie trailer. They're trying not to spoil the ending.
Yes.
They want to tease the CEO just enough so the CEO says, oh, this is fascinating. I must read the full 40 pages to find out what happened.
Which they will never do.
Right. When really they should be treating it like the Wikipedia plot summary. Give away the entire ending, reveal who the killer is in the first paragraph, and then add a recommendation on whether or not the studio should fund the sequel.
What's fascinating here is how perfectly that analogy captures the psychology of the reader. In executive communication, the goal is action, not suspense.
Makes total sense.
A senior leader does not want to read a mystery novel. They want the spoiler immediately so they can make a multi-million-dollar decision and move on to their next meeting.
So we have to give away the ending, but practically speaking, how do we physically structure that on a single page? If we just throw all our demands at the reader, it's going to look chaotic.
Well, there is a highly effective standard 5-part structure. It's a blueprint you can use every single time. It ensures you provide the necessary context without getting bogged down in history.
And it forces you to prioritize action, I assume.
Exactly. Let's walk through it using a specific scenario from our source material. So imagine a severe decline in sales in the APAC or Asia Pacific region.
Okay, so assuming I'm the analyst who just wrote a massive report on why we are losing money overseas, how do I start this one-pager?
Part 1 is the situation or context. This should be incredibly brief, just 1 or 2 sentences. It answers one question: what is the problem, opportunity, or question this document addresses?
Okay, so what's the example sentence for that?
In our scenario, it would be, APAC sales have declined 18% year over year, driven primarily by increased competition and distribution gaps.
Clean and fast. It's essentially the diagnosis of the illness.
Correct. Which leads directly to part 2, the objective. Again, just 1 sentence. What was this specific report trying to accomplish?
Got it.
So, for instance, this report examines the root causes of the decline and evaluates 3 strategic options for recovery.
Wait, I have to push back here for a second. Don't those first two sections blur together? Like, if the situation is that sales are down, wouldn't the objective obviously just be, fix the sales?
It's a fair question, but it's a subtle and crucial distinction. Think of the situation as the reality of the external world. Sales are down 18%. That is a fact happening outside of your control.
Okay.
The objective, however, is what this specific piece of paper in front of the reader is trying to do about that reality. Are you just informing them? Are you asking for a budget increase? Are you evaluating options?
I see. So the situation is the world, and the objective is your intent. The world is on fire, and this document is going to evaluate 3 different escape routes.
That is a great way to look at it. So once you have established those 2, you move to part 3, key findings. This is usually 3 to 5 bullet points.
And we should define key findings here.
Yes, a key finding is basically the most critical discovery or fact pulled directly from your analysis. They're the undeniable truths you uncovered.
So in our APAC example, what would that look like?
A key finding might be pricing is competitive, but the primary gap is in Tier 2 city distribution.
I'm guessing this is where people get into trouble by listing like 20 bullet points of data.
Oh, absolutely. They list everything. But if we keep it to the undeniable truths, we set the stage.
Right, so we've told them the world is on fire, we're evaluating escape routes, and our key finding is that the front door is blocked, which brings us to part 4.
Part 4 is recommendations. What should be done by whom, by when? And the most vital requirement here is that a recommendation must be actionable.
Let's define that word too, because actionable is huge in executive writing vocabulary.
Yes, actionable means it can be acted upon. It's practical. Saying we need to improve sales is not actionable.
Because it doesn't tell you how to do it. It needs a location, a method, and a deadline.
Precisely. So an actionable recommendation would be, we recommend investing in a regional distribution partnership in Tier 2 cities by Q3. It gives the leader a tangible plan to approve or reject.
And the final piece of the blueprint.
Part 5 is next steps or decision needed. This is where you hand the ball directly to the reader. You tell them what they must do.
Like asking for a signature.
Yes. For example, we request approval to proceed with option 2, as outlined in section 4. It closes the loop and demands a response.
So the entire architecture is situation, objective, key findings, recommendations, and next steps. That is a powerful framework.
It really is.
But, having an outline is only half the battle. If I fill those 5 buckets with the wrong information or just too much information, I'm still going to lose the reader's attention. How do we filter the noise?
You have to apply a very ruthless filter, which is famously called the so what test.
Oh, I love this concept.
Right. After every single finding you write down, you must look at it and literally ask yourself, so what? If you cannot immediately articulate what the reader should do with that piece of information, it doesn't belong. It gets cut.
Let's actually role play that. Let's say I'm writing this APAC report, and I include a key finding that says, our primary competitor launched a new billboard marketing campaign in January.
Okay, I'm the CEO reading that. So what?
Well, it shows that the market is getting more competitive, and they're spending more money than us.
So what? What do you want me to do with that information? If it is just interesting background context, it fails the test. You need to tie it to an action.
Ah. Okay, so instead I would say the competitor's January campaign caused a 20% drop in our retention, meaning we need to immediately authorize a counter campaign.
Now it passes. The data is inextricably linked to a necessary decision. This filter prevents you from falling into the common pitfalls of executive writing.
Speaking of mistakes, our sources outline 5 specific ones people make. And I'm going to playfully admit right now, I have absolutely been guilty of mistake number 1.
Oh, really? Which is writing the executive summary before the report is finished, right?
Yes. I'll get the data, look at it, and think, well, I know what the answer is. Let me just write the one-pager now so I don't have to do it later.
Yeah.
Why is that such a dangerous trap?
It is so tempting because we just want to check it off the list. But writing a good executive summary is hard because it requires you to deeply understand your own report.
Right.
Until that deep analysis is actually finished, you don't truly know what your final nuanced recommendations are going to be. If you write the summary first, you are summarizing your assumptions.
That hits close to home. You think you know the answer, but the data completely changes your mind on page 20.
Exactly. And the result is almost always a vague document because you haven't done the hard thinking yet. It's actually a very useful exercise to write it last. to test your own logic.
What about the other mistakes? I imagine including too much background history is a big one.
It is massive. Again, it is the curse of knowledge. You spent 3 weeks researching the history of the market, so you want the CEO to know you did the work.
But they don't care.
No, executives do not need a history lesson. They need the path forward. Then, the third mistake is making unactionable recommendations, which we discussed.
Like saying we should explore opportunities.
Yes, that is just corporate fluff designed to avoid taking a real stance.
Because if you take a stance, you might be wrong. Exploring opportunities is safe.
Exactly. It shifts the burden of figuring out the solution back onto the executive. The fourth mistake is failing the so what's test, giving findings without significance. And the fifth mistake is simply making it too long.
One page is almost always the rule. Right?
Yes. If you cannot distill it to one page, it means you have not made the hard choices about what actually matters.
It takes more time to write a short letter than a long one, as they say.
Hmm.
Okay, so we had the 5-part structure, and we have filtered the content using the so what's test. But here's where it gets really interesting.
The language itself.
Yes. We need to look at the actual words used. Because you can have the right structure, but if your language is weak, the reader simply won't trust your recommendations.
The language of executive writing requires a very specific tone. It is concise, it is active, and it is incredibly direct. Brevity and clarity are valued above all else.
And there are specific words that just instantly weaken your authority on the page, right? Like using weak modifiers.
Yes. Words like very, quite, or a little. Do not say, sales are very bad. Say, sales declined 18%. You also want to avoid phrases like, it seems, or perhaps.
Unless you are expressing a highly calculated, genuine uncertainty, I assume.
Right. Furthermore, you must ruthlessly eliminate the passive voice.
Oh, the passive voice is the ultimate corporate shield, isn't it? Instead of saying, we messed up, people write, mistakes were made.
It's a total accountability dodge. Instead of writing, it was determined that our pricing strategy is ineffective, which makes it sound like a mysterious ghost did the determining. You should write, we found that our pricing strategy is ineffective.
Take ownership of the analysis. Active voice projects confidence.
Exactly.
Okay, if we look at the source material, there is an incredible before and after case study that proves just how much this language matters. This is honestly the most important teaching moment of the entire guide.
It really highlights everything we've talked about.
I'm going to read the weak version in full first. Let's listen to how it sounds. Here we go.
This report discusses the performance of our sales team in the APAC region over the past year. The first section looks at revenue trends. The second section discusses team structure. The third section covers competitive analysis. In conclusion, the APAC region has experienced challenges that require attention.
Ouch. It is genuinely painful to listen to.
So why does this fail so completely?
Well, first, look at the structure. It ignores the 5-part blueprint entirely. Instead of providing a situation and an objective, it falls into that table of contents trap. It just describes the report's layout.
It is telling me what the report says, not what to do with it.
Exactly. Next, notice the glaring omissions. There are 0 key findings. There are no numbers, no data points, no discoveries. And because there are no findings, there are no actionable recommendations.
And that last sentence. The APAC region has experienced challenges that require attention. I mean, that might be the single most unactionable sentence ever written. What does challenges even mean? Right, and what kind of attention? Let's actually apply the so what test here. The finding, if you can call it that, is that they experienced challenges.
So what?
There is no answer. It fails the test on every conceivable level. If you hand that to a senior leader, they will hand it back and tell you to go figure out what you're actually asking them to do.
Okay, let's cleanse our palate. I'm going to read the strong version, the after example. Listen to the difference in authority, clarity, and pacing. Here it is. APAC sales declined 18% YoY, primarily due to underdistribution in Tier 2 markets, not pricing, as initially assumed. Our competitive position remains strong in Tier 1 cities. We recommend partnering with a regional distributor in 3 identified Tier 2 cities by Q3, with projected revenue recovery of 8–12% within 12 months. Approval to proceed with the partnership framework is requested at the April board meeting.
It is night and day. Let's break down why this iteration works so effectively.
Yeah, first off, it leads immediately with the situation and a specific hard number. APAC sales declined 18% YoY.
Exactly. The reader instantly knows the stakes. There is no ambiguity, no very bad challenges, just an 18% drop.
And then it does something incredibly smart with its key findings language. It explicitly corrects a prior assumption. It says the decline was due to underdistribution, in parentheses, not pricing, as initially assumed.
This is vital. In a real boardroom, a CEO might interrupt 3 sentences in to say, wait, I thought we had a pricing problem. By putting that in parentheses, you preemptively answer their question without making them feel misinformed.
Let's apply the so what test to this version. The finding is we are underdistributed in Tier 2 markets. So what?
So we need a new distribution partner, which feeds directly into that highly actionable recommendation sentence.
Look at the mechanics of that recommendation language. We recommend partnering with a regional distributor in 3 identified Tier 2 cities by Q3, with projected revenue recovery of 8–12% within 12 months.
It's perfect. It has a clear method, a geographical location, a firm timeline, and a projected financial impact. It is a complete defensible thought.
And finally, the decision framing. It identifies the exact decision needed from the stakeholder.
And we should define stakeholder here. A stakeholder is a person with an interest or concern in the business, essentially the people reading this who actually have a vested interest in the outcome and hold the purse strings.
Right, so the summary says, approval to proceed with the partnership framework is requested at the April board meeting. It leaves zero ambiguity for those stakeholders. They know exactly what is expected of them and when.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, by adopting this specific linguistic style, you are doing so much more than just summarizing a document. You are managing up.
You're demonstrating high-level strategic thinking.
Yes. When stakeholders read a summary written this way, crisp, active, data-driven, and actionable, it fundamentally changes how they perceive your value to the company. You cease to be just an analyst compiling data, you become a trusted advisor, you are speaking the language of decisions.
So what does this all mean for you, listening right now? We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today. To synthesize everything, an executive summary is not an introduction.
Definitely not.
It is a standalone, action-driven document that tells your reader what to do. You want to rely on that 5-part blueprint situation: objective, key findings, recommendations, and next steps.
And you must relentlessly apply the so what test to strip away the noise.
Right. And you have to write in the active, confident language of leadership.
And it is worth noting that this matters even if you aren't writing a formal memo to a CEO tomorrow morning. The principles we discussed today apply to almost every form of professional communication.
Like even a daily status email.
Exactly. If you apply the so what's test to an email, or structure your thoughts using this blueprint before you pitch a new idea in a casual team meeting, you will become an infinitely sharper and more persuasive communicator. It forces you to clarify your own thinking before you ask for someone else's valuable time.
That's the real secret, isn't it? Writing a one-page summary is agonizing because it forces you to actually make a choice about what matters most. You can't just hide behind a wall of data.
It forces a choice, yeah.
Yeah.
Which leaves us with a fascinating philosophical question to ponder as we wrap up today.
Let's hear it.
We tend to think of the executives, the CEOs, the board members, as the ones who hold all the power because they are the ones who make the final call. But if the executive summary is truly the only thing that busy decision-maker reads before acting, who really holds the power?
Oh, wow.
Is it the executive simply saying yes or no? Or is it the person who framed the entire reality of the choice on that single page?
The person framing the reality definitely holds the cards.
That is a brilliant thought to leave on. We want to hear from you. Have you ever had to write a summary for a senior leader? And what was the hardest part? Tell us in the comments.
We'd love to read your stories.
And if you're new here, subscribe so you don't miss next week's deep dive. Thank you for joining us today, and keep learning.